Привет, мои дорогие друзья, меня зовут Кирилл Смирнов, и это видео, это интервью мы записываем с Майклом Хатчисоном. Это предприниматель, инвестор, адвокат, руководитель круизного клуба Интервью и очень большой путешественник. И я надеюсь, оно будет и для вас, зрителей, очень сильно полезно. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Kirill. Nice to see you.
And you too. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay. We have 5 questions. Some people say that success is your inner energy. Do you agree with this statement?
I agree. I think it can be very much a system. A system is something that is a process that you work through. And so the success that I see people are able to have really do 3 things. One, they have to have a massive focus. And so if you're massively focused, you can achieve success. But this is just one step. You have to concentrate. All the success that I've had in my business, in my career, has been when I've tried to do just one thing. Other times when I've had failures in business is when I tried to do too many things. And so those that I know that are the most successful have the ability to focus and to narrow their focus. And so it's important to think big, it's important to dream big, but it's more important to narrow your focus to a very specific niche. In my business in cruises, for example, we took a niche. We took the big industry, biggest industry, travel, $8 trillion, and we focused on the fastest growing niche. So number one is you have to have a focus. You have to have a massive focus. Then the second thing is you have to take massive action on your focus. And it's quite simple. You have to know whether you're getting closer to your objectives or you're getting further away. Is what you're doing working? So many people, unfortunately, don't achieve success because they stop. They say, I tried that and it didn't work. And then I would say, and then what did you do next? And they say, well, I stopped. And I said, no, you must keep trying. This past year, Kirill, I became a grandfather. And so my daughter had her first son. So my first grandson. So I'm a dedushka. I'm a dad.
Yeah, I knew.
Yeah. And so imagine if my daughter said to her son, James, after he tried to walk, 1, 2, 3 times, well, James, you didn't work out. I guess you're just not going to be a walker. And so most people stop, unfortunately. You have to take action, but you have to know whether you're getting closer to or further away from what your objective is. And you just keep going. You don't settle. You don't stop. So massive focus, massive action. And then the third thing is that you have to be focused on ensuring that you're adding value and that you're giving, you're contributing to others. And the more that I give, the more that I add value, the luckier I get, the more grace that I receive. And so this is a success formula that I think anybody can follow. And so it's a combination of internal and external is the answer, but it's very well laid out. Massive focus, massive action, and then massive giving of yourself, giving of value, and making sure that your product contributes and solves a problem from somebody else. This is the answer to how success can be achieved for anybody.
Okay, I think it's very cool. Okay, second question, okay. What thing or things is the most enjoyable for you in business?
So for me, it's all about the people. To build a startup, it takes a lot of work. And there's really 2 things you have to focus on with a startup. I've been involved in many startups. My first startup, at about your age, at the age of 25, was with Tony Robbins. And so what I've learned over the years of both successes and failures with startups is the first thing you have to do is you have to design a perfect experience for the customer. And so this is what I enjoy. I enjoy the creative part, the figuring out what is somebody passionate about, what can I help them with. This is my love, is the creative. You're coming up with a vision and trying to figure out how you can solve a problem for a lot of people. You have to design the perfect experience. And so what I thought about is, what would be the perfect travel experience? What would be the perfect vacation experience? Yeah. And by asking this question, I came up I came up with the idea that I looked at the best value in the travel industry, and it was the cruise experience. Why? Because it's 30 to 50% cheaper than any land resort experience. Yep. So that's the first key, is to figure out the perfect experience. Then, this is the creative part. This is the right side of your brain. To dream, to visualize, but then you have to get feedback from people. You have to get feedback from those first couple of customers. And so my dream was always to have millions and millions of customers, but I had to start with one. And so with those first few customers, I just asked lots of questions. What do you like, about our product? What don't you like? What's the one thing that we could do? One thing that if we were to make it better, to have a better experience for you, what would that one thing be? Again, trying to get very clear on how what I have can help other people. And I got this passionate feedback. Then, once you design a perfect experience, Kirill, then you have to scale this. Once you figure out what works for the first handful of customers, and then you have something that works, then you have to figure out, how do you scale it? How do you make it available for not just 10, 20, 50, 100 customers, but how do you make it available for hundreds of customers, for thousands of customers? And this requires more technical thought process to be able to scale it. It's more of a scientific approach to it. Whereas the first part, which is what, again, I love the most, is the fun part, is coming up with the idea, having a vision, and then figure out, how do I make this perfect for you? And then the second part is, I have to have a team around me, because it's all the details, it's all the systems, it's all the processes, it's customer service, it's billing, it's all the technical that enables you to scale this perfect experience. And so for me, it's the people part. It's working with good people like you, and then dreaming and visualizing and thinking, how can I create something that'll be a legacy and that'll be around for a long time? This is the fun part for me, is the dreaming up and trying to figure out something that works. And then once it works, then I want to put a team around me that helps me to make it work.
Wow, it's very cool. I think it's interesting. It's very interesting. Okay, what is the secret of success for you?
The secret of success is what I answered before. Which is, you have to be massively focused. Again, there's so many opportunities. There's so many great things going on in life. I think the important thing is to find something that is meaningful for you, something that you love doing, and to be able to find a focus. I was very lucky at your age to go to work for Tony Robbins, and so I was exposed at an early age of being around an environment, being around the idea of personal development, being around training, being about contributing to others, that I knew at a very early age that this is the area that I wanted to work in. But not many people have this experience, Kirill. Some people, it takes a very long time to figure out the environment that they want to be in. And so I have 4 children, and it's important that my children, to be successful, I think first and foremost, find something that's meaningful to them. Meaningful may be money, but not money. Maybe the ability to have good leisure time. But I think more than anything else is that they want to do something that they feel like they're making a difference, that they're contributing to other people. This is what I think is the answer to what's important for people, is to find something that's meaningful. You want meaningful work, and also I think the success is to find meaningful relationships. You and I are just meeting for the very first time, but we met at the airport. You did a phenomenal job with the event, and now we're meeting again. We've got more events coming up. I hope this is the start of a wonderful long-term relationship.
Yeah, of course.
Because at the end of the day, you have to have meaningful work that you work on together, that you love and you're passionate about. But also you have to have meaningful relationships. And so these go hand in hand. You have to be focused, love what you're doing, find meaningful work, but then surround yourself with good people. I'm in the travel business, and I get to travel all over the world. And people ask me, what are your favorite places? And you know what I say? I always think about who I was with. I was just with my family in Dubrovnik in Croatia. I was with my family in Albania. I was with my family in the Greek Isles. I was with my family in Florence, Italy.
Oh, it's interesting, yeah.
This is what I remember. Being with my family, having meals, sitting down and talking with people. I could have gone to all these places, Kirill, by myself. And to me, it wouldn't have been as meaningful, but I got to share it, with the people that I love and care about the most. And so I think this is success, is find something that you love. Find meaningful work that enables you to contribute, to give back, and make a difference for others, but able to create meaningful relationships at the same time. This is what's most important.
Yeah, well, it's really nice, cool. I think it's quite right. Yeah. Okay. Next questions. What 5 books about business can you recommend us?
Sure. Okay. So the 5 books may be books that I read or reread before I started in cruises,
of course,
2 years ago. This would be helpful. My friend Jack Canfield, who wrote the Chicken Soup series, Chicken Soup for the Soul, has a book titled Success Principles. And in this book, he had an exercise. And he said, write down the 20 things that you love to do the most. What are the 20 things that you love to do the most? And so, of course, I wrote down travel, and I wrote down training, and I wrote down leading, meeting new people, and I wrote all these 20 things. And guess what? This was part of the vision for In Cruises, because it allowed me to do the things that I love to do the most. Find meaningful work and find meaningful relationships. So the first book I would say was Jack Canfield's Success Principles. My friend and my boss, who I worked with for 7-8 years, Tony Robbins, any of his books I would recommend when I was there with Tony.
All his books?
Well, he wrote Unlimited Power, Awaken the Giant.
Oh, I've read it. It's a great book.
Okay, so those are excellent books. But a short book would be Notes from a Friend. Notes from a Friend by Tony Robbins, which is a synopsis, a shorter version of his 2 previous books. But anything by Tony Robbins I would recommend. Another important book is a book called The One Thing. The One Thing, by a gentleman by the name of Keller. I think it's Jack Keller, K-E-L-L-E-R, The One Thing. And this is the whole idea of a singular focus, having one idea. Big travel industry, one niche. Take your dreams, take your big thinking, narrow it down to one focus. Ask yourself this one question. What's the one thing that I can do today that by accomplishing this one thing would make everything else easier to accomplish? And so this is a question that I always like to ask. Is what I'm doing right now, this one thing I'm doing right now, the most important? And if I got this one thing done today, it would make everything else simple or easy to accomplish. So I'm always trying to narrow my focus, and a lot of this was reinforced through this book. This gentleman started Keller Williams Real Estate, called The One Thing. Here's what's important. Here's what's critical. We all have time. Time is the currency of achievers.
Yeah.
Great achievers get to the heart of the matter. Great achievers get the most important things done sooner than other people. You and I have the same time. The richest business leaders in Russia and you and I, we all have the same time.
Of course.
The richest business leaders in the rest of the world, we all have the same currency. It's called time. But it's where you invest your time, where you invest your energies. But most people think because time is on a clock that it's circular. It's not circular.
Not circular, yeah.
It's linear. As soon as it passes, it's gone. You don't have this time anymore. And so this was a great book to remind me to say narrowly focused. The One Thing. Jack Canfield's Success Principles. The One Thing. When I was 25 years old, I went to work for Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins' mentor was Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn talked about a book titled Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think this is an important book that everybody should read. I have a little bit of a different version. I don't think you can think and grow rich. I think you have to act and grow rich.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's important.
Right. It's not just good thinking that gets you into a position to be successful.
Yeah.
It's good acting. It's the action part.
Yeah.
And so, but I love the book. The whole idea of, you know, visualizing and the principles behind Think and Grow Rich is a classic, you know, that anybody can go back and read. I'm a big fan of Greek philosophers. So any book by Aristotle or any book by Socrates, in my mind, Kirill, these were the original personal development thinkers. These were the original thought leaders. If you look at all the great thought leaders today, those that I just mentioned, Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, you could find elements of their work back in the Greek philosophers' days of Aristotle and Socrates. And so these books by any of these early Greek philosophers, I would highly suggest for somebody to read. And so the last book that I would suggest is a gentleman by the name of Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss.
Oh, it's great.
He's super.
Yeah.
So he wrote, his original book was The 4-Hour Work Week.
Yeah.
Yep. And then his latest book is where he interviewed, just like we're interviewing now, all the great titans of industry. And it's a big book, but it's a brilliant book in that it gets to the heart of the matter by all these outstanding leaders. Tools of Titans is the name of his book. Tim Ferriss, Tools of Titans.
Yeah.
And then the last book is just now actually coming out, and I had the chance to preview it. One of the all-time successful investors in America is a guy that you probably have never heard of, and his name is Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio, D-A-L-I-O. And he has an investment firm called Bridgewater, and he manages some $164 billion, you know, of other people's money. And he wrote a book about principles.
Imagine that now you meet yourself, age 25, and what will you tell that man?
I would just say 2 words: keep growing.
Keep growing.
Keep growing. Every day for the last many years of my life, I focused on growing.
To growing.
Just keep growing. 2 words. Just keep growing. Every day you want to know, am I better today than I was yesterday? And the only way that you're happy, when you're truly happy, is when you're growing. And this is when I'm happiest, is when I'm growing. I'm here in a new country I've never been before. I'm meeting new people, and so I feel like I'm contributing and I'm growing. So my advice to myself and to anybody is 2 words: keep growing.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Да, спасибо большое, что вы смотрели это видео. Я надеюсь, это было очень сильно полезно. Спасибо большое.
Спасибо.
Спасибо.